Book. Okay, we are live and ready to go. Hello, everyone. My name is Tara Stevenson. I serve as the Dean of Student Engagement and Career Development here at Flagler College. We are here with another Workshop Wednesday talking about job search techniques. And I am so excited and honored to be joined by Dr. Dave Rivera here at Flagler College. Full disclosure right off the bat, all of my streaming and live sessions that I've been doing, I have taken the ideas from this wonderful professor here at Flagler. So
no, you give me too much credit.
Thank you for letting me try it out and do some things on my own. But do you want to introduce yourself to everybody and let us know who you are and kind of what your role is here at Flagler?
Sure. So I am Dave Rivera Jr. I am a Freytag professor and director of hospitality and tourism management at Flagler College. I've been at Flagler College since August of 2019. So in the middle of my first year at Flagler College, we got hit with the pandemic. So I still feel very new and like freshly minted now that we're kind of back in the swing of things. So I'm really excited to be here. Interacting with students, even though it's virtually. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
Yes. So we are live here through our Career Development Instagram, your own Instagram. Yeah. We've got the Career Development Facebook page, the Flagler College YouTube channel, and then I'm going to try it today through my own Twitter and see kind of what comes up with that. If at any point somebody's got questions for us, please feel free to toss them into the chat. Don't be afraid to ask them. I'll also be monitoring them on Instagram, and we'd love to get your interaction. I always have to remind myself and my guest that I do plan on giving a co-curricular word at the end of this, so don't let me forget, because that is one thing I will absolutely forget. But today we are going to talk about job search techniques, which is a pretty heavy topic at any point, and then you add a pandemic and what the job market looks like and now. And so let's go ahead and just jump into it. Before we get to any topics that we're thinking about, what's one thing that just sticks out in your mind now when you're thinking about job searching?
The biggest thing that sticks out right now is that everybody is just flooding the market with resumes and going digital. So that is the biggest thing. So it used to be where if you were able to connect with people digitally, you were almost separating yourself a little bit from the marketplace. Now you're just another, I hate to say another number, but you are just another number. So what you're going to have to do is that no longer shows you're technically savvy. It doesn't show you have technical skill above anybody else. It just shows you're like everybody else. What you're going to have to do is figure out how to be different in that world where everybody looks completely the same on paper. And I don't know how deep you want me to go, but there are a lot of things I've seen lately, and specifically what people have done trying to get my attention. Because right now, we have a hiring freeze at Flagler, but there are a lot of people trying to get my attention from the standpoint of, hey, if you have any positions come available, and then they're doing some pretty unique things. And a couple of them have really caught my eye, and I've maintained contact and dialogue with some of these people. So I'll share some of these techniques with everybody as we get into it a little bit later.
Well, and that's the perfect segue, because when we talk about job search techniques, I love to spend a little bit of time on networking and what that means. And of course, every single time we do a live session like this, there's always tech issues. So I can hear the feedback that's probably coming from my end. But at least we're still live, that everybody can see this and nothing has been connected. But we always thank you for your patience. But networking, so you had somebody that reached out to you saying, hey, what's going on? Can you help me out? Or at least just, keep me in the loop. So what are you sharing with networking now? I know that's a topic we could spend just an hour on.
So the biggest thing that happened to me was somebody had reached out, and instead of just sending their is it the feedback? And maybe it's mine. I wonder if it's from my phone. Is that you're getting it?
I don't know. I'm turning my speakers down here.
Okay. The biggest thing that happened was somebody had sent an email, but they didn't just include their resume. They actually did a video recording introducing themselves when they sent the email. Now, at first, just in this day and age, I was a little worried that there was a video attachment. But in the email, it explained I recorded a video. I wanted to introduce myself, and I wanted to do it in a way that's a little bit different than just me sending my resume and Vita. So I sat there for the 40 seconds and watched this introductory video. And as a result of that, I emailed, we connected. We connected on LinkedIn. Then we set up a video call between the two of us. It's easy for just a resume or some kind of document that's an attachment to just get lost, or if an email just comes through. When I say get lost, I don't mean get lost in the mail. I mean just get lost where it's tagged and set aside to go back later. That was not even on my mind when I read this, and I said, "Oh, let me check this out now." And I clicked on it, and I watched this video. To me, that was such a different, unique technique to catch my attention from somebody who's saying, "Hey, I know you may not be looking for faculty now, but when you are, please let me know. And this is who I am, and this is what I'm about." And I think hopefully this situation doesn't take another 12 months. But we have set up where every couple of months we're going to reach back out to each other, kind of reconnect, see where they're at in their progress. Are they still searching in this area? They do plan on moving to Florida, and that's how the conversation came up. And they looked at Flagler. I believe they're looking at relocating to the Jacksonville area with a spouse. So that triggered the entire conversation piece, and that was something very unique that just drove me to go, that is something that I find a great way to kind of make that networking connection.
Absolutely. So I think when it comes to networking or job searching, the first step that we like to share is just knowing about yourself, knowing what skills you have, knowing what you want to learn, knowing what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what you value, what are some non-negotiables, where you want to end up. Because if you can answer all of those questions, then when you're networking and connecting with these different people, it's a bit more fluid and you're able to leverage that network a bit more.
Yes. I think one of the key things that you mentioned that a lot of people neglect is knowing their non-negotiables. And right now, one of the things I'm noticing is that people are just dismissing their non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. There are still some things that to me are I'm not willing to sacrifice that for a position. Now, I know we're in a tough time, but the last thing you want to do is feel that you're in a tough situation, dismiss your non-negotiables, and then jump into a job. And then you realize you dislike that job on top of all the other stuff going on. So make sure that you're very clear with yourself, not necessarily with anybody else, but with yourself, that these are the things I'm not willing to sacrifice for a particular job. I think that is the key thing, knowing yourself. And I had Cassie come into a class and do a values assessment. And a lot of the students had to choose between one value and another. And at the end, they're left with just a few values that they hold.
It's one of my favorite things to do in a class. I love seeing the frustration. Like, I don't want to give this up. I'm not a bad person. But at the end of the day, like, you're able to really prioritize those.
And that's the important thing, knowing what you want in a position, because I firmly believe that we are going to be turning a corner soon. And, I'm in the hospitality industry, and we are suffering big time. But what we're going to find is that there's going to be this turning of the corner, and there's going to be plenty of jobs. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. And if you sacrifice your values or what you hold important as far as looking at a job, you're going to find that you're very dissatisfied with that job. You're going to be back on the market faster than what you really want to. And then it may even be harder for you to truly figure out what you want out of a job to then pinpoint what you want, because work-life balance is truly very important. I can honestly say this is the first time in my career, and I've been an educator since 2001. I've been in education since 2001, where I found a true work-life balance between a place that I'm working and what they value and those values matching up with my home life. This is the first time. So think about it. I've been involved in education 20 years, and this is the first time in 20 years where I've found a place where all of that works. So now when people are going, hey, are you interested in this job or that job or the other? Nope, I'm good, because I'm happy where I'm at, and that makes everything else better. Home life is better, which makes work life better. And right now, the mental health aspect of home and work is more important than ever. And I think it's making people realize that you have to have that good symbiotic relationship to be successful.
And I know when we talk about job search techniques, a lot of times our students or our recent alumni are looking for like very specific things or very specific places to go to be able to just simply search through. But if we can continue emphasizing these like building blocks, that's what then makes the job search process a little bit easier when you're going to those different places.
Oh yeah, and there's so many things that people can do now. There's such a huge majority of jobs that right now are just not being listed. You're finding that there's a ton of jobs that are not being listed, and this is where having good networking techniques are very, very important. Also, this is a perfect time to try to reach out to somebody that may have been unreachable before, that you're interested in talking to, and don't just send out a blanket email. Hey, I'm very interested in talking with you sometime. Try to be maybe a little bit more specific. Hey, is there opportunity where maybe we could have a 5-minute Zoom call? Because somebody is going to be a little bit more willing to do that 5-minute Zoom call because they're not running around from meeting to meeting. They may have a lot of Zoom calls, but I find myself more willing to sit on a Zoom meeting call than I was probably a year ago, before the pandemic, because I didn't have to worry about running 20 minutes to get to meeting A and then run after that meeting another 20, 30 minutes to get to meeting B. I can take 10 minutes in between meetings, and just breathe it out and get ready for the next one. Or if somebody wants to hop in real quick, I just have one question. Sure, let's go ahead and Zoom it in. So if you identify somebody that you want to connect with, 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to just be formal. And when I say formal, you could say, hey, I'm going to be taking a coffee break from this time to this time. Do you mind if I just give you a quick video conference call while I'm sitting having coffee at the Starbucks or the Kookaburra here? If you're in St. Augustine, a little love to the local businesses, right? You're here at the Kookaburra. Is there any way that while I'm having this coffee, we can just have a virtual coffee conversation? And you'll be surprised at how many may be a little bit more willing to do that. But the specificity of the meeting and the shorter time frame could get your foot in the door. And that's one of the most important things right now. Get your foot in the door so you can have name recognition. And because of the virtual aspect of it, you can have facial recognition. So when we go back to normal face-to-face meetings, when you walk in that room, they're going to go, oh, I remember you. And I'm going to use one of our students as an example. We have a student who's working with special events, Tailoring. Great guy, right? Unbelievable.
Wait. I'm pretty sure he just joined us on Instagram. So that was a perfect time.
Did he really? Yeah. He did. So
not sure if he's still here, but shout out to him.
Ty is an unbelievable young man. Him reaching out to somebody, and if he said, hey, let's have a virtual coffee, he walks in the room. They've seen him. They've already built a relationship. It's not starting from scratch. And you'd be surprised how much facial recognition can go a long way to lowering that guard sometimes that's up, and you can start to develop those relationships. And I also picked Ty. We have a lot of great students, but his personality just shoots through no matter what medium he's dealing with. He's got a great personality. And you have to treat the digital meetings as if they are a true face-to-face. And sometimes just, let that personality shine through there. So that's just one technique that somebody can do to try and help bridge that gap.
Well, and we don't know how long this virtual recruiting virtual world is going to last. Like something that I've been sharing with a lot of students is we are very excited to get back to our normal. However, I'm sure companies are really considering their ROI for those in-person recruiting things versus, am I saving money by having more of these virtual meetings with people that are 10 minutes versus spending 4 hours at some place where I might only speak to a few people?
I think we'll see it hold on for a little while. So we may have some people that view this, that it may take, they may not be able to relate to this, but I was old enough and involved in the industry enough during 9/11 where we saw kind of a complete shutdown and everybody went virtual. It took a little while for people to get back to the face-to-face. Ultimately, there is something to be said for that face-to-face. I honestly and firmly believe that part of what separated me from some of the other people that applied for the position when I was trying to get here at Flagler was the face-to-face. The fact that I got to be on campus, I got to meet with students, we got to shake hands. There are some things that I would not have been able to do virtually, where my personality may have still been able to come across, but somebody may have been able to outperform me virtually. And I think a lot of places are going to recognize that and realize that some components, I believe, online will always be here, but there's always going to be that need for face-to-face. Now, with that being said, I think companies are going to be better at identifying positions and jobs and people that may be better suited just to do the face-to-face piece, and people that are better suited to do this. There are some people that are maybe a little bit more shy with the face-to-face component. However, they are rock stars. They can do this well.
Oh yeah, so like blow it out of the water.
let's keep them in front of the camera and let's use them maybe as setup or as closers. And then we'll send somebody else, since Ty said he's still online, send somebody like Ty to do the face-to-face work, and Ty is doing that. And I think they're going to be able to save some. I also think with this, you mentioned ROI. I think we're going to see some landlines disappear. I think we're going to see the phone calls start to slowly disappear. I thought they were going to disappear a long time ago with everybody having cell phones. But I think some businesses are going to look and go, why even bother with a landline? If somebody wants to call somebody, they can just do a call. If they want to, they can just turn off their cameras and then speak through their computer. And you could save a lot of money that way because you're just doing everything through your Ethernet connections. So
I mean, it's totally like all the futuristic movies where everything is just like a popped up video screen that's in your car or at home or somewhere. But they might be just having like open Zoom rooms where you get in a waiting room. And I mean, we see them with online chat support, but with companies, I think that's a fantastic, insight and thought.
Well, you just mentioned the waiting rooms. They already do that with Teledoc. So Teledoc already does it, and that's something that you can take from one industry and apply it to another. Transferable skills right now and cross-training of skills is going to be more important than ever. A lot of places are going to be looking for individuals that can pivot and have a wide variety of skills and tools in their background. So I think if our students here at Flagler are unsure of any of electives that they maybe want to take, start looking at classes that you can take where you can take that skill, even if it's one class, and use it somewhere else. And I'm going to give a shout out to this area because I think this is going to be a big one. Strategic communication. Strategic communication is going to be huge going forward, especially if you can do this. Right? You got to be able to do this, I think, in the future, that even when we go back to quote unquote normal, you're going to need a strong workforce who can do this. And even if you're sending people face to face, you're still going to want to be able to have people that can pivot. Because some people are not going to be able to travel. Budgets are going to take a while to recover. And you're going to want to have somebody who can strategically communicate via social media, the virtual meetings, and that's going to be an important skill set. So look at different classes you can take to add to that toolbox.
And now is the time. I think we've talked about this in a couple different workshops of what are those skills that you can add to your own little briefcase that will help set you apart, or that will give you that added bonus with something. And we're not all going to be amazing at all these different skills, but help to set yourself apart.
Can I add a little something there? So another thing, I think about the number of international students we have at Flagler. And this is an opportunity where they can use their second, third, fourth, fifth language. That's one thing I've been very impressed. Our international students go beyond just two languages. So if you can become proficient in a second, third, fourth, fifth language, you're going to see more international business. They're going to be a lot more used to this. There's going to be individuals that are able to stay up in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning here. It's regular business hours somewhere else because they speak another language, and they're going to be sought after because they have that skill set. So that's something that I think our international students can leverage really well. And if somebody is just not proficient in another language, learn it. get it at least a second language, because that's something that can really help you get that position or that job, or even your foot in the door that may not lend itself to somebody else who doesn't have that skill set.
You mentioned language, and my mind always goes to coding as a language, because it's the language of technology. And that is such an amazing skill that I think a wide range of companies and organizations can value. I think of myself when I was serving in a leadership role in one of my professional associations. I had to kind of self-teach myself some coding for my role. And the abilities that I've been able to like keep with that and do with different projects, I was like, why did I not add this skill set sooner?
Yeah, technology is huge now, and technological skill is big. And I want to say this, and I hope some of the younger students don't take this the wrong way. They are very good tech-wise with stuff they know very, very well. What they need to do is start becoming comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty in tech they're not totally familiar with. They have to be okay with trying to figure out and making that mistake. One of the things I've noticed with some of the students is they're worried about making a mistake from a tech standpoint. Don't be worried about it. I feel that there are some older individuals that are a lot more tech savvy, because a lot of things I had to learn on the fly. Hey, here's this new technology. You got to learn it. A lot of our students have grown up always with having a cell phone in hand. There are things they can do so much better than I can, and they're the smartest person in the room on it. However, if you put us both in a room with new tech that neither one of us have used, I am willing to put myself up against any student from that standpoint, because I'm okay with not knowing, making mistakes, and learning on the fly as they go. Students really need to become a lot more comfortable with that and experimental with tech. And I'll use Canvas as a perfect example. I explore different ways to use Canvas all the time. Students have been using Canvas for a while, but they want exact pinpoint directions from point A to point D. Tell me A point 1, A point 2, A point 3, B point 1. And all I need is somebody to say, hey, this is Canvas. This is the endpoint where you got to go. Now get there. And I'm just experimenting. They have to get more comfortable with that skill. True tech savviness is not just knowing how to use the one thing better than anybody else, but it's having the ability to be given a new piece of tech, being able to learn it, understand it, and then communicate that to somebody else. And that's one skill set I'm starting to see lacking. I apologize. If you hear my dog, I apologize.
I want to know what kind of dog you have now. Like, that's
it's a rescue, actually. I've had her for 10 years. She was abandoned in a box with her 2 sister puppies on the side of the road. And I was away at a conference. My wife took the kids to the shelter. They picked the dog and everything. I had no idea. My wife goes, hey, I think the kids want to get a dog. We go to the shelter, and the kids are like, that's the one mommy said we can get. Next thing you know, we have a dog. So 10 years later, I have a dog.
But the dog may already have a home with us. Oh, lovely little sidebars. So I feel like we've just covered so much. And again, I want to keep going back, like, for our viewers, that many times if you come to these workshops because we want like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, or like I can check off, like, I've looked at Handshake, that's one job search tool. I've looked at Career Shift, that's another job search tool. But so many of these things that we're talking about now, like, enhance the ability to check out Handshake, or, to work that network so that you're finding something on Handshake, but then you're networking with the recruiter from Handshake and you're advocating for yourself about all these skills that we're talking about. So
one of the things I've been telling some students that I've been dealing with is, if you know a company that you want to work for, or an organization, or if you've drilled down and that kind of specific information, one of the best things you can do is look up who the human resource individuals are. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and reach out to them, but don't just reach out with generics. Go ahead and reach out to them. And if you're going to reach out on LinkedIn, do not just hit the connect button. Please, whatever you do, do not just hit connect.
So let's definitely spend some time on networking with LinkedIn. We'll do a whole nother workshop later on in March on just in general, but like talk more about the power of LinkedIn when it comes to networking.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is one of the greatest tools to sort through people that you want. And it's also one of the greatest tools you're going to find to sort through people that you don't want. And the reason I say that is LinkedIn is very effective at least from my standpoint, showing the people that are making true effort to try and make meaningful connections and truly network at a higher level. So when I say don't just hit the connect button, I've got a little bit more choosy. Not that I'm like this big, powerful LinkedIn person, but whenever I see connection requests that are just so-and-so wants to connect to your network, it really doesn't show any relationship. It doesn't show any connection, any deeper level that exists there. So when it has that little piece underneath that says, do you want to add a note? When there are people I want to connect to, I try to see if there's some kind of similarity. And one person did this recently. I had no idea who it was, but we both follow Gary Vee, who's an entrepreneur, great motivational speaker, Gary Vaynerchuk, unbelievable speaker. And one of the things that they noticed was that we both liked the same little video that Gary Vee posted. So there was 3 or 4 sentences in that connection request that talked about the video and the comments and things that I made and what I liked. So it shows that individual made a true effort and said, oh man, I see where we can possibly connect.
And I always have to add this caveat when we're talking about LinkedIn networking is like, that's not creepy when it comes to the professional networking of LinkedIn. And so it can be creepy when you're reached out to by strangers on some of the other networks. But with LinkedIn, connecting with these strangers where you have some sort of professional commonality, like you're talking about there, or that you went to the same institution, or that you're a part of the same industry or a profession, like that's not weird then to connect with a stranger.
Correct. Because the idea with LinkedIn is it's the digital professional Rolodex. It's a different feel. And one of the things that I've found at every institution I've ever worked, this is the 3rd institution I've worked at. The first thing I do is I click on the institution and see who else has been there at some point. So there are people who I've never met who either were students or worked here at Flagler at some point in time that I've reached out to. And I say, hey, we have a connection. I'm at Flagler now. I know you worked at Flagler. Just wanted to reach out, maybe have a conversation on your thoughts of connecting with this person or that person. And it's done in a professional way. Now, I will throw this out there. I have seen some creepy stuff on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah. If there's nothing in common, then there's no benefit that I'm gaining from this connection.
Yeah. So, you want to be careful with that as well. But I'd say 99.9% of the interactions I've had with LinkedIn all have had a meaningful professional connection to move in the right direction. And those are the ones that you want to tap into. The level of effort they make, like I said, you can see. You can look at their profile and see what they've put there. I have a description of all the things I've done. I have a copy of my most recent Vita. If you look at somebody's information and they've been working someplace for 10 years and their last updated Vita was 10 years ago when they first got that job, they're not making an effort to truly show what they have available or show how you can connect. You may not want to try and expel energy because that's somebody who is not even expelling energy on themselves, right? And that digital scope. So you may want to go ahead and just move it and push it in a different direction and go in a different way as far as a connection. But make sure when you click that connect, make sure there actually is a meaningful connection. Put a few sentences beyond just the click connect button.
So I love sharing with our current students and alumni the alumni feature on Flagler College's LinkedIn page. If you went to graduate school somewhere else, your school hopefully has a LinkedIn page, but you can search for other alumni that have identified Flagler College on their LinkedIn page. And I love this tool for building my network because I can search by their major, I can search by their industry, I could search by their geographic region. And when you hit a connect button, you already have a connection of being a Flagler College Saint. But especially if you're moving someplace and you're job searching in a new place, find Flagler graduates that are in that location through LinkedIn and say, hey, I see you went to Flagler as well. I'm a recent graduate moving to the area. I'd love to chat over Zoom or grab coffee, and hear more about you. Have
that's
you seen
huge.
that?
Yeah, so that's something I've done every time I've moved. So when I finished my PhD at Texas Tech, I was moving to Greenville, North Carolina, to work at East Carolina University in their hospitality program. At that point, I had graduated from the University of South Carolina with my bachelor's and master's and a PhD in Texas Tech. First thing I did was look to see, are there any South Carolina grads or Texas Tech grads in the area that I could connect
Red
with?
Raiders out there.
Yes, Gonzaga, and also South Carolina Gamecocks, right? And now that's what I will say. That's one of the disadvantages with Flagler is there's no football, right? So I'm going to throw this out there, that football connection, it just breeds that sense there. Now, alumni at Flagler are very proud. They're very connected. It's unbelievable.
Invested in helping our current students, and my goodness, like, it's a small school, but Flagler alumni are everywhere.
So that's why I say that. I know we do the Saints weekend and all of that kind of stuff, but when you look at homecoming for football, it's amazing how many people you can connect with that you never even went to school with, that are in different industries, different areas, and that's what helps with the homecoming football games. Now with Flagler, one of the things I've noticed is that alum seem to be so much more willing, and I'm not discounting my other institutions.
No.
If they're here, Flagler alum have taken it to a completely different level in trying to have that reach out. So that's something that these young coming up graduates need to look at, is connect to people that have been through the same walk that you're going through. They understand where you're coming from, and you can develop those relationships. Also, reach back and look and see what you can do to maybe help the ones that are going to be coming after you to help further build that network. A network should not only work one way.
Mm-hmm.
I am reconnecting with people I went to high school with, and they are involved in different industries. And some of them I'm even seeing that our career arcs are more intertwined than I ever thought they would be. And this is something that, if there is a positive to take out of COVID, it's that I've been reaching out in different ways and doing different things. And this is a skill set that I think people are developing, and they really need to continue to develop that, even if we go back to what we were used to before COVID. You need to hold on to that skill set and continue to develop it as you move forward.
So to kind of wrap up this like networking that we're talking about within the job search techniques, we have this little chart that we like to share with some of our students of how to build your network, or who to think of. So obviously LinkedIn is a great one to think about, but try to identify who is in your network, who's in your corner that's going to help advocate for you. And so alumni is one, employers, current supervisors or past supervisors, your peers, because your peers have family members that are all over the place, your own family and friends, and then faculty that are here, or previous faculty members that you stayed connected with. And this little chart is this, circle of listing out everybody and then keeping them organized. Anybody else that you can think of to add to that network that can help?
Actually, yeah. So when you take it even farther, think back to some of maybe the coaches you've had in high school. Think back to some of the, especially if you were involved in any student organizations. I know we have the two sororities on campus, but when you look at sororities and fraternities, the brother and sisterhood, a bond that's formed should last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. If you're ever part of any church organizations, reaching back to those individuals. You just never know where you're going to end up making that connection. So another piece that I wanted to add when you were talking about LinkedIn, I know you talked about this big thing, but there is a GPS feature on LinkedIn that if you are in a city of somebody at a conference, now we're not doing it face-to-face conferences now, but if you go to a conference and you just go ahead and turn on the GPS feature of LinkedIn, it'll let you know who's in the immediate vicinity around you. And you can make connections that way. And that's something that I started doing once I learned about that feature at every major conference I went to, and it showed who was there. because one of the things that I was focusing on, I had no problem with meeting and interacting with people within my industry. HTM, hospitality and tourism management, as big as it is, it's very small. We tend to gravitate to each other. The key to HTM networking a lot of times is the connections we make outside of our industry and finding those other connections that don't normally seem to fit. Sport management is a big one. I know a lot of people in the area of sport management that are working for the Jags, that are working for the Carolina Panthers, that do their special events. I know somebody who was doing special events for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. A former alumni from ECU was actually there. And when I first got here to St. Augustine, we ended up in the same place kind of at the same time and turned it on. I was like, oh my God, she's here. So you start looking at those pieces, and those are things that you need to do and continue to do even after we get out of this pandemic situation. You got to cast that net any way you can. And when you find, I hate to use this analogy, but when you find the fish that are, oh man, this is a good fish to catch, you want to go ahead and develop that relationship to try and catch that fish so you two can interact on a much more intimate and deeper level than just digitally. And cold emails, blanket emails, make them a little bit more personal.
That's what I love about some of the funnels that we're able to create is, the Flagler graduate who's working in a full-time position that wants to bring on an intern, sees how amazing the intern is representing the institution, and then wants to take on more interns or advertise those full-time positions with them. And it's like that community building that expands beyond just your experience here on campus.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to add to, actually, I don't know if you have other things, but from a tech side, what people need to start doing with their resumes is paying attention to especially if they have to just upload, the algorithms. People get good at learning these algorithms with TikTok and all that stuff. Man, apply that skill set to applying for jobs, right? So you're using it in a casual leisure setting. Use it in your professional life as well. There's one tip that people are, hey, this is a job I'm interested in, going and finding those keywords and making sure that you put them in your own words in a certain way that if it's a digital upload, it's going to catch those keywords and your resume will then be pulled to the top. I know some people that in the footer, they are copying and pasting some of these keywords and then they're highlighting them and turning them white. Right. So then you can't see it, right? So this way it triggers it.
That's age-old trick.
You know what I mean? So it's triggering the algorithm to find your resume. Mm-hmm. People are not using these skill sets, and it's putting them farther and farther behind other people. And that's what I mean by tech savvy. Understanding how these things work and really putting yourself out there to take advantage of it. So that's another networking aspect. And when you see a certain job with those keywords, sometimes do a Google search or a LinkedIn search with those keywords, and it'll pull up people who have maybe those similar type of words in there. And then you can start maybe connecting with them to find those pathways to the positions and jobs that you want.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and transition to, because I do feel like it's important to put some time to this, job searching now during COVID. Because we've talked about everything that we've been discussing so far. It has been tried and true for many years, but now there's this added layer of COVID. So any helpful tips that you can think of that we may not have touched on that would be good when job searching during this time?
Yeah. So you might want to go a little old school on this. And when I say go old school on this, I mentioned, a lot of people are just hitting that contact and it's an email and they're sending an email. If you can find a phone number, pick up the phone and make a call. Pick up the phone and make a call. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. Because people are getting so inundated with resumes. And I'll give you an example. And this is a rule of thumb. If a company has about 30,000 positions, let's say.
That's a really big company.
Yeah. So, let's say, and I'm using this, hey, we're going to look for 30,000 people. So let's say it's Amazon, right? Amazon, 30,000 people. They're going to see anywhere from 180 to 250,000 applicants. Mm-hmm. and it's all going to come digitally. You're not going to look different. However, let's say you're one of those 250,000 applicants, but then you decided to pick up the phone and reach out to that contact person or HR person, and all of a sudden you mention your name, you've applied online, but you just wanted to call, see if there's somebody you can talk to, see what else you can do. Conversation may finish short, but that person's going to be sitting there, and I pretty much will guarantee they're going to look up and be like, let me see if this person is really applying. And I'll use my son as an example. My son is applying to colleges. He's looking at, so there's Flagler. There were a couple of other ones. And he was interested in a couple. And instead of just sending emails to different departments, he goes, hey, I sent an email to one school, but they haven't gotten back to me yet. I said, son, just pick up the damn phone, man. I was like, pick up the phone, find out who you need to talk to, and just give them a call. Introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm Diego Rivera. I'm interested in your program. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. And he did it. And he was like, they answered, and we talked. And I was like, now that person in their mind, they know who Diego Rivera is. And I guarantee you, they're looking, hey, do we have an application? Hey, has this student applied for financial aid? Hey, has this student done this? And all of a sudden, your name takes a much different sound when somebody mentions Diego Rivera. And that's something that I think a lot of students that are looking for jobs need to do. Go old school and pick up the phone. Leave a message. I know a lot of people that once the message comes on, they hang up. They want to leave a message because for whatever reason, people hate the way they sound on video recordings.
They're like, I'm going to be awkward.
Yeah, I hate it too. But make a call and keep it simple. Hey, I'm David Rivera. Noticed you had a position available. I applied online. I just wanted to call and speak to you about a couple of different aspects about the position that I just wasn't completely sure about. Please give me a call back between this time and this time. This is my number. This is my email. And if you're clean, direct, and to the point, don't ramble. Write it down if you have to and read it. You'll probably get a call back because you've just done something that's so different from what everybody is doing right now, which is just flooding their market with digital resumes, emails, all contact digital. You're going back old school and actually picking up the phone.
Yeah. So I found this fantastic article when I guess it's probably got to be at least 6 months, 8 months old, but I just love these helpful tips. So let's do like a quick rundown because I know we've talked about some of them. Be ready for the hiring process to take longer than usual. If you watching this with us and you walk away with one thing, I feel like this one is we have to tack on like just that patience is going to be key during this because everything is just taking a little bit longer.
And also just the sheer number of, a lot of people have lost their jobs or been laid off. So like I said, the rule of thumb, you're looking at 3 or 4 times more applicants than they ever have. So they're having to sort through 3, 4 times more stuff. So yes.
Yeah. And along those same lines, expect to apply to 5 to 10 times the number of jobs than you had originally planned on. And that's where organization is going to be key. I love a good spreadsheet myself. And so if you're applying, like just make a note of where you're sending these things and add that follow-up or when you do make the phone call or you do, email or reach out to somebody, because then you can track who you've talked to. Set aside some time each day and search and apply for jobs. I told a student, take their laptop outside. I don't care if you go to the beach. I don't care if you sit by, the West Lawn, anything, enjoy the weather outside and just designate a little bit of time for it. It's going to take investment on your part when you're job searching. We always say that on average, it takes about 6 months to get a job. And so if you're graduating this May, hopefully we were starting back in January of setting this foundation, but I would say that today's a great day to start if May is coming. And so setting aside that time.
So can I add something to that real quick too?
Always.
I see so many and I just hear conversations. So this is anecdotal a little bit there. I hear people talking about, oh man, I just binge watched this series. Take an intermission, right? So I know there's some
So
good stuff
good.
out there, right? I know everybody's all about Bridgerton, right? Netflix and the Shonda Rhimes, but hey, after you watch 2 or 3 episodes, man, just take an hour and a half and start plugging along. Um, Use your spreadsheets so you're not messing up. If you're not a spreadsheet person, I like whiteboards. I have notebooks. Jot it down. But yeah, set it up as a normal part of your everyday schedule.
Mhm.
I think it's best if you can do it either as one of the first things you do in the day as watching, and then do it again kind of as you're wrapping up your day, in the beginning and end. Put it on your calendar and make sure you're dedicating at least 60 minutes each time. So
Yeah.
that's like 2 hours a day, I think is a minimum good amount of time for that job search.
Yeah. Keep your online profile updated. Obviously, we took some time on that one, but making sure that your social presence reflects you in the best light.
Yeah.
And that's true for everything.
So I've done workshops on that because now more than ever, you're searchable. You're as searchable can be. A lot of people are like, oh, but I'm private. Yeah, you may be private, but a lot of times if you're a friend of a friend, things are just popping up.
Google image yourself.
Yeah. So you definitely want to be careful with that. I don't think it's necessarily the fairest or most ethical thing for some companies to do, but in this landscape, a lot of times it's absolutely necessary. So they're doing it. And the last thing you want to do is have yourself in a position where all they see. I know somebody that lost a job because the only pictures they ever posted of themselves online, they were drinking, right, and like partying, drinking. So every time they look, they go, "Is this all they're doing in their spare time? Is partying, drinking?" Companies saw them as a potential liability, didn't make the offer. So
Yeah, I mean, and anything that we're doing in this professional realm, like I say with resumes, with interviews, like we're inviting these judgments, and judgments can be good and judgments can be bad. And so eliminating that opportunity for the bad judgments is what's gonna work for you. Use online job search sites such as Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed, and Glassdoor. I want to add Career Shift here is huge. It's one of my favorite tools that we have. It does do the same principles as Indeed. However, I feel like we don't have to search through so many maybe questionable positions that we would find on some of the other sites. Be willing to take a temporary job to demonstrate your abilities or to build skills. If you take away 2 things from today's chat, I am calling them stepping stone positions. Is our position and our goal that we are thinking about that we want, it just might not be available at any given time right now. They may be even more limited, but is there a stepping stone type of position that we can gain some amazing transferable experience to what you eventually want to go into?
yeah, and a lot of times that temporary job, it's easier to get a job when you have a job, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
there is this negative view that somebody who's unemployed is just being lazy. And sometimes it's just a matter of unfortunate circumstance. It has nothing to do with their laziness, work ethic. Sometimes it's the niche career that they are in. But there's just this negative perception that if somebody doesn't have a job, they're not trying to get a job. So even if it's you have a job serving and you're a computer engineer, right? And you just have it, they look and they're like, oh, you're serving now. You probably can find skills that you use in serving to apply to that computer engineering job. And they'll look at it and go, okay, he's got a job or she's got a job. He or she is willing to do what's necessary. Let's go ahead and interview them. Yes. And that's the key thing there.
Yeah, is they've decided to do something with their time. And I think that that's 100% critical, like you're saying. We have talked about this in previous workshops, but it never is a bad thing to say it again, is tailoring your cover letter and your resume to the specific job that you're applying for. That is what 100% springboards you against those 250,000 other applicants that are going for positions at Amazon. And so building that into your time each day to really, really tailor those. Set some job alerts through some of the online search engines that can take away some of the manual work on your part. Practice virtual and phone interviews before the actual one happens. One thing I love to work with students on is the majority of time spent on these practice ones, I like to look at nonverbal communication. And so we're not even looking at necessarily the content, but like the nonverbal.
All right. So I wanted to throw this out, and I did this on purpose. Hopefully we'd be able to get to that. Right? So I talked to my daughter about it, and she was like, "Are you really going to do this?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm going to do this." So dress up for as if you were going into an interview. And when I say dress up totally.
Oh, head to toe.
Head to toe, right? So I did this, right? I told my daughter I was going to do this, and hopefully I can get a copy of this to show her that I actually did this, right? So you don't want this to happen. You're interviewing, you forget to turn the camera off, and then you go, "Oh yeah, let me go ahead and walk off." And you're wearing gym shorts, right? So I have gym shorts on, and you saw me earlier today. I was in my suit at work.
Yes.
So I came home and I told my daughter, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be doing this talk, and I'm going to show everybody what they shouldn't do." And she goes, "Don't do that." And I was like, yes, because people need to see what it looks like. It also puts you in a mindset. It puts you in a mindset.
100%. Yeah.
So go ahead and throw on, the nice shoes, throw on the suit, go ahead and put on the jacket sometimes. Put yourself in a position, and ladies, same thing for you. Go ahead and dress to the nines from head to toe as if you were going to be walking in and somebody was going to see you completely. Mm-hmm. Gentlemen should do the same thing. You shouldn't compromise on this because in your mindset, yes, I'm sitting in my house, but when you dress up as if you're going to be going in, it completely changes your way of thinking of, I'm in here face to face and I'm here to get this job. You want to look the part completely to get that job, because the last thing you want to do is make a mistake and not turn off your camera and stand up. And you're wearing gym shorts like I put on when I got home and I changed. So I got to get a copy of this so I can show my daughter to her that I actually did it. That's why I changed, was just to do this to show you guys.
So I absolutely have to plug this because it's way important and a part of the job search techniques. Is next week we've got our virtual career expo, and I haven't yet encountered a student or a graduate who is like, yes, I am super pumped for the virtual career expo. But what a great way to practice and to find out who is hiring. They are, it's just a great job search technique, whether it's in person or virtually. A lot of people are valuing a virtual career expo because there are one-on-one sessions where you get that time with the recruiter on your own, versus at an in-person one, you may be waiting in line or you're trying to grab the attention with 10 other people around this table. But we've got 60 organizations, or between 50 and 60. I know that number's a little bit changing constantly. Graduate schools, internship sites, full-time positions. Chat with these recruiters and see what's going on, see what they're telling you, and get some insider insight.
Yeah, and another thing I want to add with where you said practice the virtual, when you record yourself, don't send it to people that you know very, very well that you would consider like inside your tight group. You can send it to one of them, but send it to some people outside of that can give you a true 100% honest assessment. Also, don't take it personal. This is a professional development exercise that you're doing for yourself. So when you send it out, maybe when you send out your recording, also have some specific questions that you have there. Hey, did I do this? Did I do that? Because this is all for self-improvement, and this is all for separation, because people are getting video fatigue. They're just sitting there watching and talking to people. After a while, everybody looks the same. You want to do something, again, that's going to separate yourself from everybody else.
In a good way.
Yes. You don't want to be wearing the gym shorts, right? You don't want to wear the gym shorts.
Yeah, because I'm even thinking the background, the background in this virtual world is a job search technique in itself. I was in a class last semester where we were talking about, do you purposely put things in your background to add or take away? I have things from my kid that are in my background because I love telling people that I'm a mom, but I also like to put Flagler Spirit in there. And I also put my cleaning supplies very visibly so that people know that I value health and safety during this. But all of those can make or break that job search process for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, some people get bent out of shape with certain pictures, especially if it's They feel it's political statements. So you do want to be very aware with that. I'm all about social justice, but there are just certain things that are going to trigger people, whether they want to be triggered or not. And we don't know what those triggers may be. So I have 2 drawings in my background here at my house from my daughter when she was like in, like first grade. Right. So, but I have them up. And I don't think that's going to trigger anybody. If somebody gets bothered by unicorns, I'm sorry. But that is something that's very true. I try to keep it as plain as possible. And if I'm unsure, I either use the blur out background or I use a Flagler College generic background, there. So
cool one. So quick rundown. The second article that I have found such amazing value in during this time is the companies that are hiring during a pandemic. We obviously know, like, I loved having you join me today because I knew that your industry was hit pretty hard during this. And so the coming up with unique ways to job search and what that means is big. So quick rundown, we've got large tech companies, seasonal need. And so we know that summer is coming up. And so are there things within the summer? When we did this workshop back in the fall, we talked about the holidays and how seasonal help was going to be needed then. Obviously, remote work is huge right now. I mean, my husband works for a big Fortune 500 company at a campus of like 5,000 people, and they have no plans. He was saying last night, not even anytime before September would they even have discussions about going back. But he said their productivity is probably higher now with people being at home. And so much more of this remote work might be available. Companies that oversee online learning, obviously, we've transitioned to a lot of online learning, so they are increasing their hiring. Food service and online grocery deliveries. I'm sure everybody has enjoyed and benefited from an Instacart order or Grubhub or something of that nature.
So to throw in on the food piece, there's a new Chick-fil-A opening here, but they're still going to be following those protocols, like their dining room is not going to be open. And along with that, there are so many other food service operations that change the way they do business. They need more delivery drivers because some people are just not comfortable going in. It's really changed the landscape. And the online learning piece, if anybody's good at that aspect, I have been contacted by several firms asking if I'd be interested in taking on their new online training programs for their companies.
Yeah.
So those things are very real. And I think, like you mentioned, productivity, they realize there's some things that they had people just grinding it out like crazy in an office, that it's okay. They don't have that 5th day. They can just do 4 days, do some of it online, and they're actually going to produce more.
Yeah. It's I want to know what your dog is so excited about now, or if there's like, I
don't know. I have no idea.
Delivery outside.
COVID-19, right? The new things that we do.
Essential business, that's one that is absolutely hiring. Digital entertainment, streaming, video gaming, like those companies are ramping up because that's what people are doing. But we are going to take breaks from watching these series that are dropping 10 episodes at once. Healthcare obviously is one that is hiring a whole lot. That includes nurses, data specialists, researchers, scientists, communication specialists. I mean, like their need is increased, so obviously their operations will need to increase. And it's not just the healthcare ones that are helping you in that need, but it's like all the inner workings and operational aspects on the back end. Healthcare supply, that industry, cleaning and sanitation, and then manufacturing and construction. Those are all ones that are hiring. So we're going to end today. I want to hear a pearl of wisdom that you could share during this job search area.
The biggest thing that I think people need to realize is don't compare your clock to everybody else's clock. There's already enough going on. What you need to do is just look at what it is you want to accomplish, where do you want to be, develop your plan on how you want to get there, and then follow that. Don't look at somebody else's plan and then think you need to follow their plan. Right now, everybody needs to be as specialized and individualized plan as there ever has been. I think a lot of people are just comparing themselves to everybody else and going, oh my goodness, this person's doing this and this.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a pandemic, right? And even when we get out of it, there's going to be a period of time where there's still some adjustments.
Yeah.
So as long as you develop your plan, worry and focus about your plan, and you will come out of this better than you came into it.
Yeah. My pearl of wisdom is to not seem too desperate. I know that we are getting to this point where we're feeling pressure from ourselves with graduation coming up, or that we recently graduated, family. We love family, but they always have opinions and love to talk about things. And so like we can get this sense of desperation, and that's going to show in a lot more than we think. And so taking time to process, taking time to breathe a little bit, shameless plug for the Career Development Center is we can help you process that, and we can help you organize that, or connecting with a faculty or mentor who can help you kind of organize your thoughts, that desperation isn't coming across when you don't want it to.
And I second that. I tell our students all the time, I've had you guys come to my classes. I have worked at several institutions, and I think by far this is the best career development center I've ever
worked. Thank you.
Your office is awesome.
I love to share with students. I'll be your biggest cheerleader. Like, I need you to keep me in the loop on what happens, because I will shout from the rooftops, whether we're outside or inside, and celebrate in your successes. But I also realize that everybody gets very close to their own situations, and we are objective parties. And so I can sit here and look at you and say, we're not doing the right thing right now. We got to kind of pivot. I will never tell you exactly what to do, which I know people want answers sometimes, but to help you kind of along that journey, I know that it can be helpful to connect with people. So Dr. Dave Rivera, thank you so much. This has been wonderful to have you join us today.
The pleasure and honor has been all mine. This was a great hump day activity. This has been great. Thank you so much for trusting me to come on and inviting me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, so I have been putting our guests now on the spot. And so what co-curricular word would you like to give our students today?
Oh, okay. So co-curricular
one word. Yep.
Here's one word. WandaVision.
And okay, you are seeking co-curricular credit for watching this either live with us now, or you're watching the recording later. Please email WandaVision to careerdevelopment@flagler.edu. There will be no judgment on spelling, spacing, or grammar. However, I feel like I think it's one more episode for it. It's been quite the interesting show.
And I just talked about not binging, but that one is actually a good one. The episodes are about 20 to 25 minutes long, but that show is I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Well, we will have to chat about pop culture and Marvel and all of that another time. So thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate you here. Mask up. Stay safe. We appreciate everything that everybody is doing to keep our campus community safe, and we wish you guys all the best. See you later. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.